Good afternoon, everyone. Today is December 1st, 2022, and this is Conversations from Stritch. I'm David Livingston, president of Lewis University, and I'm joined by our provost, Christopher Sant, which I am every week that we're here. I really hope that everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. I really want to, again, as we did a couple weeks ago, express a thank you to all the members of our community who hosted international students at their homes this Thanksgiving. Thank you to the Office of International Student and Global Scholar Services for organizing this effort. It was really great, and I must say that this year Joan and I did not host international students, which is the first time in the last 9 years that we haven't, because we were out of town. We were in California, but I've heard from several people who hosted students that it was a really great experience, and I want to say a special thank you to everybody who hosted, and hoping that our international students got to see what that celebration is about. We also this week, because the transition from Thanksgiving to Christmas happens this week, on Monday we lit the Christmas tree at Brother Leo's Circle. You can see in that image, and just a reminder, I said this at my remarks when we had the tree lighting, Brother Leo was so involved with international students, but also just involved in welcoming students to campus, and we miss him, lost him during the COVID pandemic. But his memory, and he loved the tree lighting ceremony. He was always there, and kind of an incredibly gracious host, so we're grateful for that. For our employees, all of our employees today, we have a Christmas party over in Stritch Hall. So we're excited about that. Excited to have the party, welcome everybody in. And I just want to say that that party for employees runs from 2 to 7. So come whenever you can. You know, if you have a class and you can't get there till 5, come at 5. If you have a class and have to get home to pick up your kids, come at 2 and stay till 3. You're welcome. I was just, when I left to come over here, the sushi master was making sushi. So one plate is done. There's much more sushi to be made and eaten. So please come over. We look forward to it. And then tomorrow night, it's a very busy, this whole time of year is so busy, is President's Circle. So tomorrow night we will offer a special thank you to our donors who support our students and make it possible for students to complete their degree. Many of them have endowed scholarships, or they've made a difference in terms of our student athletes or our international students, or the ability of our students to study abroad at either our Rome location or somewhere else in the world. It's an opportunity for us during this season to say thank you to all of our donors, so we'll look forward to celebrating with them. But in addition to those things going on in just these couple days, there's all sorts of stuff that's been going on. So Chris, do you want to give us a little sense of some events and some accolades for some of our faculty and staff?
Absolutely. It's great to be with everyone, and it's overwhelming to hear about all this celebration that we're doing this week. I really look forward to the party this afternoon, and I really appreciate the thought that we begin this week with recognition of Brother Leo and his sense of hospitality, especially around the holiday season. So it's already been a great week, and look forward to the next couple days. We were pleased back in on November 14th to celebrate the opening of the Lewis University Airport's new air traffic control tower. The Joliet Regional Port District expects the tower to be operational before the end of the year. Just a reminder, owned and operated by the Joliet Regional Port District since 1989, the airport is Will County's premier corporate airport and serves as an educational space for Lewis University, our aviation students.
Look at that beautiful tower.
Which includes our air traffic control students, as well as our pilots and aviation maintenance students. The tower will provide increased safety and make the airport more accessible to grow the regional economy and create jobs. It's an $8.2 million 9-story tower, and it was funded through support from the Federal Aviation Administration, the state of Illinois, and the Joliet Regional Port District. Our own board member and former Congressman Dan Lipinski also worked to make the tower project eligible for federal funding and was really instrumental in advocating for the project. So we are grateful to him, and our students are really going to benefit in so many ways, as well as our whole
And I'm sorry, both of
community.
us were gone. We told
Yeah.
people that we were in Europe, and we talked about that last week,
Yeah.
and meeting with all the other presidents and provosts from around our 64 LaSallian universities. But one of the things that happens when you're in Europe is that you miss the groundbreaking or not groundbreaking, but the kind of ribbon cutting for the tower. So too much going on this campus to be everywhere all the time.
Absolutely. Lots of great things happening simultaneously. Congratulations to Deb Augsburger, who has been selected as the Distinguished LaSallian Educator. The LaSallian region of North America honored 8 distinguished LaSallian educators during the opening session of the 49th Annual Huther LaSallian Conference on November 17th, which took place in Baltimore. Dr. Augsburger is a university professor of reading and literacy and co-chair of the Department of Education, and she was among those nationally recognized LaSallian educators. So congratulations to Deb. They were selected by their ministries and recognized for their exceptional work in touching the hearts and minds of their students, often leaving an impression that makes a difference in the world. The Lewis University Civic Engagement meets regularly to collaborate on ways to inform students and encourage participation in civic engagement across the country. And we were recognized as a civic engagement institution. I think we have a graphic to show this. Anyway, we were recognized nationally for there it is, as a most engaged campus for college student voting in 2022. And again, we thank the Civic Engagement Committee for all of its work that has gone on to promote voter registration and voter engagement by our student population. Congratulations to Dr. Lisa Brown, Professor of Psychology, who presented with a graduate student in our counseling program, Kimberly Brumley, on November 11th at the Illinois School Counseling Association Fall Conference. Their paper was entitled Moving Past Resilience, How to Foster Perseverance and Grit in Students. Lewis University was and we can move forward a bit here. Yes, last thing I want to say, news-wise. Here in the building, we are in the middle of our 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, holiday music extravaganza, which started right after Thanksgiving and will go through January 1st on WLRA. Listeners can tune into the student-run radio station via radio at 88.1, sorry guys, FM online on our WLRA website, on iTunes and Google Play and iHeartRadio. The switch to all Christmas music is part of the annual Christmas Memories for You and Your Family, a benefit broadcast for the United Way of Will County. So instead of commercials, WLRA airs brief public service announcements about United Way agencies in Will County. The local not-for-profit organization raises money to support local human care services provided by non-for-profit agencies in the region. So now a few more events going on over the next week. We are
busy
somewhat
little
transitioning from the usual intense events to the end of the semester and holiday-related events, but we still have some great things going on this week. So on December 1st, that's today, this afternoon, in the Wadsworth Gallery, Jet Fuel Review will have its annual launch party. I may sneak out of our party to go watch that for a few minutes. That's really exciting. Again, we talked a couple weeks ago about how Jet Fuel Review is always recognized nationally as one of the most distinguished undergraduate literary magazines in America, and this is their launch party. From the rest of the weekend, December 1st through December 4th, at the Philip Lynch Theater, we have A Christmas Carol. I know President Livingston and I both have seen it. Incredible production, and essentially approximates a radio play of A Christmas Carol being delivered live. It's really fun to watch. So that's all weekend, starting tonight, tomorrow night, matinees on Saturday and Sunday, and evening performances as well. On December 5th at 7:30 p.m. in the Ives Theater, the Lewis University Jazz Band will give a performance. On December 6th at 4 p.m., There will be a meeting for the Flyers Rise mentoring program that matches our students of color at the university with alumni mentors. And on December 6th at 6 p.m. In the Red Room, the BSU Holiday Pajama Party will happen. And also at 6 p.m. on December 6th in the chapel will be the annual candlelight prayer vigil. And
so I'm expecting that you'll be in your pajamas at the candlelight prayer. Is that right, Chris?
I won't mess it up.
Is that what I'm?
I will get it backwards.
Is that what I'm kind of getting out of all this? Is that you'll?
It does get confusing.
It does. There's too many things going on this campus always, and we're excited about it. So switching over to some athletic things, in addition to all the academic and co-curricular things that Chris just mentioned. Tonight, and I do want to say, so we have this party going on. We also have multiple events going on today, and so we want people to attend the events in addition to the party, and so they can go back and forth, as Chris said, he may do. So Truman State is on campus today playing against our women's basketball team. And then Saturday, William Jewell. And then again, the men the same way tonight at 7:30 against Truman State, and then Saturday at 3 against William Jewell. I will say that it's been an interesting season for the basketball teams because the men's basketball team had a little bit more of what I call a pre-conference season. They were winning some really impressive games. And the women were losing. And then when we started conference play, the men are 0-2 in the conference play, and the women are 2-0 in the conference play. And I think it's all going to end up balancing out and going forward. I think both teams are going to have incredible success. We also have the men's bowling on Saturday against Warhawk Open. There's it's not on there. And the men's swimming, men's and women's swimming Friday at Valparaiso, and the men's cross country tomorrow in the NCAA finals up in Kenosha.
Seattle. It's in Seattle.
It's in Seattle.
It's a typo.
Correct. Yep. Okay, so it's in Seattle, and I knew that because we were talking about it earlier. One of our normal production people is actually running, so good luck to the entire cross-country team. We wish them well. Chris got to ride around in the cart when we held our own cross-country meet here on campus.
I think it's called a pace car.
Okay.
Not a cart.
The pace car that paces the runners. It's. I will say that Chris and I have amazing jobs because everything that we've talked about today, from air traffic control to cross-country running to literary magazines to parties, and we're excited to talk about our guests and entrepreneurship at Lewis. We just are able to be involved in so many things, even though we dip in and dip back out, and the professionals in the area spend 60 hours a week working on these things. It's really a privilege for all of us, which is why we so often say thank you to so many people, because the university runs and functions so well because we have so many professionals that do this work all the time. So we're going to introduce a couple more professionals today as our guests. So Chris, do you want to?
Absolutely. We're really excited to shift, to welcome our guests. One reminder before we do that is you can always ask questions during the show on the askus@lewis.edu email address that's there at the bottom of the screen, and we will get those questions and refer them to our guests. And again, if you're watching this in a recorded format on YouTube, you may still send those questions in, and we will refer them to whomever might be the best person to answer them. So I'm really pleased to welcome two guests today. First, Dr. Ryan Butt, who has served as the Dean of the College of Business since 2017. Ryan earned his BA and MSA from the University of Notre Dame, his Juris Doctorate from Valparaiso University School of Law, and his Doctorate of Business Administration from DePaul University, where his dissertation centered on entrepreneurial orientation within first and continuing generation college students. And also, I'm very, very pleased to welcome Jason Savsani, who is the inaugural entrepreneur in residence here at Lewis. He graduated with a marketing degree from Lewis in 2007, and as the founder of Meal Sharing, Jay has revolutionized the way people dine around the world. His unrelenting drive for product innovation and community development has opened people's kitchens in over 120 countries. Leading a pioneering company in the sharing economy food category, Meal Sharing has connected passionate home cooks with diners and has gathered accolades from the BBC, Food and Wine, NPR, and Jimmy Kimmel Live. Jay has spoken at the British Parliament on the sharing economy, has been featured in the Smithsonian Magazine, and was invited to the United Nations alongside other global innovators to help solve current social issues. So welcome, Jay. Welcome, Ryan. So
Thanks for joining us today.
Wonderful to have you with us today. And we really look forward. It is a great privilege to get to talk with super smart people about their work. And so I might start with you, Ryan, and just ask a little bit about the Lowell Stahl Center for Entrepreneurship and how it came about, and you know, it's sort of the foundation for this position. So
yeah, great. Well, thank you for having us today. I really appreciate it. You know, I think when I speak of the Lowell Stahl Center, actually it's been something that's been going on for over 90 years at Lewis, right? We're celebrating 90 years as a university and 50 years as a college. And in that time, we've had a lot of entrepreneurs in the College of Business. And so in 2006, Lowell Stahl generously donated funding to endow a Center for Entrepreneurship and Real Estate. That gave us the impetus to start thinking about more entrepreneurial activities in the college focused on our students, like Jay here, you know, who was able to benefit from that for 1 year before he graduated, right? But fast forward, we were able to create a business plan competition, which strongly encourages students to play similar like Shark Tank, right? With business plan competition, which started in around 2012, 2013. And from there, we went to 2019 and we created the Center for Innovation, Lewis Innovation Hub. And that is a partnership between us and the Des Plaines River Valley Enterprise Zone. Put all of this together and we said we're missing something. We've actually got a lot of great alums over the past 50 years, and can we identify someone? And so we looked through some of our more recent alums, and we identified Jay, who's been quite successful, you know? And so we said, I think, you know, most universities that have entrepreneurial centers or activities have an entrepreneur in residence. And so we established it.
It's great. And I just want to say a couple quick things about Lowell. I've been very fortunate to spend a decent amount of time with Lowell. I know you and I have both spent time with Lowell. He wanted to give these resources to Lewis for the area of both entrepreneurship, because he really did change the way that real estate is thought of in terms of it kind of people having their own little business and franchising it when he did the Century 21 stuff, but also in real estate itself. We've been focusing on entrepreneurship, but you know, Lowell is he's still an incredibly creative and passionate thinker, and he you know, he holds me accountable. He's been great at that, you know, pushing to say how can Lewis do this better, and because he really believes that a university education is really valuable and entrepreneurial skills are really valuable, and sometimes they don't necessarily meet because we kind of stay in take these 40 courses, you know, do this kind of curriculum, don't you know, think outside the box. And I think, you know, I'm excited to hear more from you, Jay, because I think what we see in this is the possibility of getting a degree and then being entrepreneurial, and they don't have to contradict in any way. They can kind of, in fact, self-reinforce each other. So, we're excited to have you.
yeah. So Jay, I wonder if you maybe will kind of start at the beginning of sorts. Like, could you talk a little bit about what brought you to Lewis in the first place as a student?
Yeah, so I actually transferred in after 1 year at UIC, and I was like, I really need a more personal college education, really. And so, you know, I transferred out here because I visited the campus and I was like, wow, this is a real special place, and, you know, chatted with some students and really got to understand that this is a place where I could really thrive and get that kind of personal attention.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you became a marketing
Yeah,
major. Was that an obvious choice, or did it happen through
so many
trial and error?
tangential paths to get to that moment? When I came in, I was doing kind of all the health classes to do, you know, to go into medicine or pharmacy and stuff like that. And what I really loved, what Lewis helped me get to, was really the option to kind of dream really. So I was I was taking the physics classes and chemistry classes, and then suddenly I was like, I remember my roommate's like, oh, I have this great teacher named Bob Bergman. You gotta go chat, and he showed me a list of like advertising agencies and the top 25, and I was like, wait, what's going on over here? And I knew that I didn't want to do the health field of the path really.
Yeah.
And so it was so easy. I just switched over and I started taking classes at the business school, loved it, got to take class with Arthur Regal and some great professors that got me in the game. And that was really the catalyst to a lot of great things in my life after that.
That's so interesting. By the way, I announced so many activities that are going on, and and there are many more than that, and we have to make these hard decisions about what to say out loud and not. But one of the things I almost put on the list was Professor Bergman has a big sales excellence celebration next week as well. So he continues to motivate people and do amazing things with students. I wonder, it's probably no connection, but is your initial interest in health possibly connected to meal sharing, or am I making a stretch?
I would say that there's probably some inspiration came from it, but I would say that how badly I didn't want to do health was a catalyst to go down the entrepreneurship path and really forge my own path, for sure.
So can you tell me a little bit about meal sharing? Because I love the idea. I mean, I've read a little bit about your background, and I think the concept behind it is really interesting, and I would be overstating it to say I'm a true foodie, because I actually don't know enough about food, but I love eating at really good restaurants.
Right,
Maybe
right.
I'm a consumer in a way that, so I really appreciate, and the thought of fine and loved food inside of somebody's own space where they feel really comfortable is really interesting. So talk to me a little bit about how this came about and how it works.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so for me, I was just, I really love travel and as a foodie as well. So, it really became, a situation where, like any business has to come from someplace from within. And really the idea of like breaking bread and the warmth that you can have with different cultures and people. And I think, and I feel like every human being has felt that warmth that happens at a home cooked meal, right? And then it's like, after the meal and we're talking and hanging out, it's like, that's what I really wanted to recreate using technology across the world, right? And it was an interesting intersection that happened where Airbnb had come out. It was still kind of a weird thing to do. Lyft and Uber actually had not come out when I was thinking about this. So it was really kind of in the infancy. So for me, starting the site, at first it was like, let's give this a try. This could be interesting, and then we just caught a really special wave because, accommodations was taken care of, transportation was just about to get started, and it was like, who's doing it for food? And meal sharing, our trajectory was kind of crazy and beautifully unexpected.
Yeah.
So it kind of caught on, yeah.
It is really, I think it's really impressive, both. And I guess I'd love to have you maybe talk a little bit about how you think of entrepreneurship itself, what kind of conversations you think you'll have with students, because what I'm hearing is there's got to be real passion about to be an entrepreneur, because it takes so much time and energy. And in some sense, you have to find that niche that is needed at that time. So timing is important. Yeah. But I'd love to hear you just like, what is if a student came up to you in the hallway or stopped into your quote unquote office hours, I'm an entrepreneur in residence. What's the kind of way he says, well, how did you become an entrepreneur? Or she says, tell me about entrepreneurship. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is really, the idea of creating something from nothing and kind of shaping the world in a way that maybe no one else sees, right? And that's the beautiful part about it, because it's open, it's an open field to dream up a world you want to live in. And I think the exciting time, and more so than when I was in 2007, this is the time, this is the easiest it's been to really design a world that you want to live in. And with the idea of through technology or other means, and the information is there, there's resources. You'd mentioned Shark Tank. It's like, I think people are kind of understanding, it's more in the media, that you can dream and create something. So it's a really special intersection. And I would add to that as well that entrepreneurship is not it. Part of it is like creating a business from nothing, but there's many opportunities in your life in terms of volunteer or at the company that you're at for entrepreneurship, right?
Right.
It's just the ability to think creatively and take things that don't necessarily go together and finding a creative solution. So it's
can I ask you a little bit
myriad.
about that? I'm really interested in creativity and how
Yeah.
it works. Like, what advice do you give to people or students in this case about how to think that way? Or do you think it comes naturally to people and they just need to be reminded to think that way? Or are there techniques for that, having
Yeah.
unique perspectives on the world?
I think that it's definitely something that the practice of, right? Because I think we all come in with our own bias around, what we can't do, right? Even me coming into this school where I was like, I can do nothing more than the health field, right? And then I can switch, and so, try different things. And I think the practice of trying new things and treating it like, and if I was talking to a student, I would just say, hey, there's a frequency play, right? That it's like you try something, like instead of 3 ideas, come up with 50 ideas, right? It's about cast a wide net and then refine from there, really. Because it's like, yeah, if you do 2-3 ideas on how you want to change the world, it's like, I would say that a lot of your initial ideas are going to be bad. And that's okay. To be comfortable with bad ideas is really important. And that's, something that talking to students as we go down this path, I think it's really what I'd like to do is that it's okay to have bad ideas.
So, and what I want to just emphasize on that is, because I think this is said by many thinkers that I respect. It's said in a lot of books and lectures, but fail well is what I hear
Right.
underneath it, right?
Right.
Like, we often, see failure as a problem
Right.
for young people, et cetera, and they kind of push it out of their system. Like, what I have to do is be perfect all the time, and I can't fail.
Yeah.
Whereas what I hear you saying is come up with 50 ideas, 49 of them are going to fail,
Right. Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And one of them
Yeah.
might actually take off, and that is perfect.
Yeah.
49 failures is totally fine.
Exactly. Yep. And I was talking when I was doing some guest speaking at Bob Bourbon's class. That was they're talking about, how do I find a job? And I was like, hey, this is a chance to have more no's than yes. Write people on LinkedIn, get a spreadsheet, write to 100 people, track your conversion rate. You'll get maybe 5 responses, but the one yes is a ticket to your new life.
Yeah,
So it's like it's okay. Like celebrate the no's that you get. That's okay. Yep.
Well, we had a question come in for you, Ryan. So the question is about entrepreneurship at Lewis. So, Jay's a part of that, but broaden it, maybe like take this step back from Jay and say, what is this like at Lewis? How do students get involved in it? If they, you talked a little bit about the Shark Tank kind of contest, but if we could take if we look at it from 1,000 feet up, whether I'm a student in the College of Business or I'm a student over in some other discipline, how do I get involved in entrepreneurship? And maybe you can then keep taking us down until we get back to Jay.
Yeah, great. Well, that's a great question. I think entrepreneurship is everywhere at Lewis. I think just even from an employee's perspective, but more so from the student perspective. And I think there's several places you could look at from the 30,000 foot view, right? I think we have centers like Kelleher's Research Center that's doing innovative things. We have our innovation hub that we're working with. We have the business plan competition. And I think that's a good example to say, how can students get involved? And if we look at the past participants, and Jay's been a judge in our business plan competition, they're not all business majors. We don't want business majors. I mean, we do want business majors, but we want everyone. Yeah,
Right.
because really creativity, innovation really thrives with different thoughts from different genres like English or theology or chemistry or nursing. And that's what really helps drive innovation at Lewis, right? And I think the easiest way for students to get involved is to, go through the business plan competition and then tap into like someone like Jay, who's our entrepreneur in residency, has an office over in Borromeo. Students are able to come in during like office hours, connect with them. And like Jay said, 50 ideas, throw them out to them, and we're going to whittle them down to one, and then you'll go back to the drawing board, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunities.
So let me
Yeah, please.
make a connection and then ask a question. So what you're saying, and I'll summarize it, is that many students at Lewis are being creative and entrepreneurial in their lives, in their studies. I guess I would make a connection between, you mentioned some researchers, professors who are doing research. Scholarship and research is really another form of creativity, as we were just talking about it, and to try to make that connection between being entrepreneurial in the market sense is really just a tiny step from the kind of creativity that happens when somebody is creating new knowledge and research or writing scholarship, that's never been written before about a history or about a, literature or whatever. So I think I love that you said that, I love that we're broadening that concept. And it's really a basic of our undergraduate education is critical thinking and creative thinking. So we should have that foundation. So I guess my question is just to clarify one little thing you said, which is the business plan competition. So what is it and where does it live and what context does it live in?
Yeah, great question. So the Brother Joel Damien Business Plan competition, sits in the College of Business, but really in the Stahl Center. That's what created that opportunity. It comes every year, and it's the celebration of scholarship is when the students compete. And so applications will be going out probably before the semester break. So students can do one of two things. They can do a business pitch or a business plan. The pitch is just like a 7-minute throw it at the judges. It's just an idea I have, and it's a lot less work, right? The business plan is where someone actually has done a lot more work and has an actual business plan that wants to see that come to fruition. And they would connect, do an application, they get a review, and then they have the opportunity in January, February, and March to have insight, assistance from Jay, from our new coordinator of the hub, and from faculty. And I would also stress that the faculty advisors are what make it very successful, and they come from like computer science or from nursing or from COS. Like we have advisors that are really engaged, other faculty, non-business. So
what do those faculty do?
They're mentoring, like a good example is like one with like computer science is mentoring the student because they've got the skill set, right? They're learning here. This is a learning environment. And so they need someone to help refine or give them feedback. And I think that's what Jay was alluding to is like, you have these ideas, but then you're refining it because innovation, entrepreneurship is refining a problem. I've identified a problem and now I'm creating a solution. I mean, I have the best solution, but I'm going to keep refining. And so the faculty advisor gives that ability to really give some insights where the student doesn't have that confidence yet. And we're helping them develop that through this competition.
So I want to raise something that, I think everybody here, maybe not Jay, so religion is my background, but I want to bring in this notion of mindfulness to the conversation because I think it's creativity. And it is, I see a problem, but sometimes, and I want to pick up on one of the things Jay said, and I'd love to hear you comment on it, Jay, is you didn't just say it's a problem. You said, create the world I want to live in. Now, you can see that as a problem, right? Like, the world is not exactly how I want it to be, but it's really more aspirational, not like I keep stubbing my toes, so that's the problem, I need to fix that. It's more, and I guess I just wonder about, and maybe for both, Chris and Jay, because Chris is his background in poetry and creative writing, and you asked that question about creativity. So where does kind of slowing down and being mindful and thinking about the world that I want to, because that's a very religious idea to think about the world that I want to live in, right? It's got this tone of how should the world be, even though it's not, which can be a problem, but I think it's slightly different. And I guess I'd love to hear you talk about that sense of the world you wanted to live in.
Right.
And I guess I'm going back to the creative process, this stepping back from all the noise and just listening to yourself and what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, in the mindfulness, is really stepping into a state of being present and ultimately seeing the best in people, right? So even when brainstorming this idea, I remember talking to investors. I remember people, and even friends and family, like, "You're crazy. Strangers having a meal? No way," right? And I was like, "No, I believe that people are good and want to meet people and really share a connected experience." And so that's kind of the lens I had to look at the world that I wanted to live in was, no, people are good and will want to give this a whirl, and it caught on. And so that's really where that piece of, and related back to like social impact, right? It's like doing something mindful, doing something that when you spend your time working, it's like you wind up marrying the two of like having, a business that grows and proliferates, but each interaction has a positive interaction that's good for the world. And that was really the driving force. Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
That's interesting to hear you, because this has occurred to me before, and I think in the beginning of the sharing economy, people did ask that question a lot, like, why would anybody want to do anything with some normal person about, and
When somebody
see the
live in
inside
somebody
of their
else's
living
bedroom.
room.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I was sitting there thinking, I was having like a little
Yeah.
slideshow in my head of all the people's living rooms I've now seen. Thanks
Yes.
to Airbnb. So it takes some you have to have an optimistic, charitable view of
Yes.
human nature in some ways to be able to think of ideas that involve people. I also wonder how much kind of social justice has entered into your experience in general as an entrepreneur, in terms of more kind of traditional way of understanding, like making the world a better place, or, solving solutions that may be actually truly help society in some, to correct wrongs in society or what have you. And the answer doesn't have to be yes. I'm just curious if that
during the
enters
meal
into it.
sharing time or in general.
Anytime,
Yeah, I mean, I think the fun thing about this path that it tangentially went into, like, in terms of making the world a better place on a social level was I found myself at the United Nations brainstorming ideas with like Ariana Huffington and the founders of like Warby Parker, and I was like, I'm just like from Chicago, or whatever. Like, this is insane, and we're working on like, solving or helping solve issues in Africa with like United Nations ambassadors, and and so it was like, I think that was really cool. And then on a smaller level, I remember like Chicago Fire Department, lead reached out to us and I was like, hey, we'd love to host meals in our community.
How do we do this?
Right.
How can we use other people? Yeah.
Right. So the platform itself created a tidal wave of good outside of like the direct thing that we did was really cool. And I remember one, kind of example was somebody's home had flooded in the summertime. Like, this is like 7 years ago. And this was unbeknownst to me until way later. The meal sharing community of Chicago got together, got into like knee deep of water, helped them move to their new home and save a bunch of stuff. So it was like all these kind of
Because they connected.
because they connected over meals.
And I just one quick thing. So I belong to the Economic Club of Chicago, which is a bunch of leaders in Chicago, but they do these meals 4 or 5 times a year where somebody will host it, and sometimes there's no topic, and sometimes there's a topic like we're going to talk about China, or we're going to talk about Monet, or whatever. It could be whatever somebody's really interested in. But I find those meals, because it's people you don't know. I mean, the club is big, so it's 1,000 people from Chicago. So you go to these meals, you don't know who they are, but then afterwards you make connections. So I mean, so that notion of helping somebody out when it was flooded is because there's this, like, we have a common thing in common, and I think breaking down the barriers of difference, because we have so many bubbles now, and creating a common element around, I like food, or I like to eat and talk about things, or whatever. So I'm going to ask, and this is more of a, not negative, but just an interest to me. So have there been any problems because of the polarization of the U.S. society that meals end up devolving into something that's difficult because people talk about religion or politics? Don't talk about religion or politics, which are two of my favorite subjects. Sure. People say, but I'm just wondering if you have if there's been any problems with that, so to speak.
Yeah. So I sold we got acquired in 2019. So I can't speak for the current climate, right?
So lots happened since then,
very, very, very different times, I think. But I would say that I think that if you are coming to a meal in this context, you're kind of in a place of, and it's not that it skews any particular direction from religion to politics, but you have a bit more of an open heart to want to
Yes.
exchange ideas. If you're already coming to
There's a
meet-
generosity of spirit that is a precursor to you even signing up.
Exactly. So, I mean, I can't speak for, we had meals going on like 120 countries worldwide, so I can't really
Yeah, sure.
speak to
So many
every
different
interaction,
dynamics,
but
yeah.
I had nothing came across my
Yeah,
desk
sure.
in that context. So
It's good
It's
because
good.
I do think that is. It feels like mostly what it's going to do is break down those barriers, as opposed to raise up those
Yeah.
Right.
differences.
Yeah, and I've been to meals where we've experienced that, where it's like there's a moment of tension, right? If somebody brings up a topic around religion or politics, but then I've seen it beautifully kind of manifest in a way where it's either it's like everyone's agreeing, or it's like, hey, I totally respect your views.
Yeah.
Let's eat dessert. Like it's fine.
And what I love about that, and maybe circling it back around, is universities are designed to do just that. Right? We create classrooms in which there's certain way in which we're going to behave, and we're going to talk about difficult topics, but we're going to respect each other, and it creates that opportunity to be resolved in a beautiful way, as you said it, right? So that there's these moments of insight or grace, generosity that happen because we're in a certain space with a certain orientation. And when you
Right.
can create that, because I am my anthropology is very optimistic. I believe human beings are good. Can they do horrible things? Of course they can. But in general,
Yeah.
and your whole idea is, as Chris already said, based on that notion. We believe people are good,
Yeah.
and therefore, people will come to this and they'll treat each other well, which is a great thing. All right, so go ahead.
Yeah, we're a little bit
We are.
pressed for time now, as it always happens. Ryan, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the slightly broader context in terms of, I think people in our internal community sometimes get confused by the Innovation Hub and the Stahl Center, and you might, if there's any clarifying comments you
Yeah.
can make,
No.
or just share a little bit about the Innovation Hub.
Yeah,
might be good.
I get confused myself, but no, the reality is, I think the easiest way to look at it is the Stahl Center was established in 2006, and it was established as an academic center. So it's really the primary focus is on the students and on the faculty, and it's to provide resources, and that's where the business plan competition. Because of that identification of student interests and faculty expertise at Lewis, right? That's what created the Innovation Hub, and that was a partnership with the Des Plaines River Valley Enterprise Zone. That's where the community gets to partner with us, and they get to harness the resources and expertise of the university. So they are two separate entities, and I think the easiest way is the Stahl Center is really primarily focused on campus, and the Innovation Hub is on campus, but we're connecting with the community.
It's great.
That's really helpful.
Yeah. So any last comments from anybody before I wrap it up? Ryan or Jay or Chris, things that we should have asked and you didn't get to talk about, or last comments?
I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
I wish we could talk more. It is an amazing topic, and thank you for being here and bringing this perspective to our community. And I am really inspired by thinking about ways our students can really not just access the knowledge that you have, but also the kind of spirit that you bring to the whole enterprise generally. So I'm really happy about it.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for being here now. And in
Absolutely.
general.
Yeah, thank you for your work, past work, current work. Thank you for working with our students. We have so many amazing alumni, 50,000 plus alumni out there, and they're just, we always talk about they make the world a better place. Day in and day out, they go to work as a nurse, as an entrepreneur, as a chemist, and they go in, and that 8 hours or 10 hours that they spend makes the world a better place, and we're grateful for your work, so all of your work. All right, so we're going to wrap up. Again, just reminders, there's so much to do on campus this week and weekend. Athletic events, artistic events, creative events, parties. So please take advantage of all that is available. We are grateful for all you do, and we wish many blessings on you and your family.